opinions expressed on this show do not necessarily reflect those of the Barbers Chat Network, our great partners at H&B Media, or any of our media peers. We're just five idiots who love sports and love to talk shit. If you're offended easily, then this show isn't for you. And for those of you who aren't offended easily, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Remember, it's only entertainment.
So cool.
Triple double hat trick, I know the code too. Ice trade, go for trade, yeah we cold too. Getting paper on these player haters, old news. Money on the other line, so I'm not gonna hold you. Money on the other line, so I'm not gonna hold you. Money on the other line, so I'm not gonna hold you. Money on the other line, so I'm not gonna hold you. Money on the other line, so I'm not gonna hold. My agent just said we made 100 flat. Make it back and make it stack this like I'm Steven Jack. Put my rings up in the camera like I needed that. Up in the air and at the rim is where I meet them at.
So cool.
Triple double hat trick, I know the code too. Ice trade, go for trade, yeah we cold too. Getting paper on these player haters, old news. Money on the other line, so I'm not gonna hold you. Money on the other line, so I'm not gonna hold you. Money on the other line, so I'm not gonna hold you. Money on the other line, so I'm not gonna.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another edition of I'm Not Gonna Hold You, man. It is Friday, January 17th, 2025, man. It is your boy Scott here with Mikey, man. Of course, you can follow me at all social media platforms at Barberchair Scott. You can follow Mikey on Twitter at Junior_Solito. Follow the Barberchair Network at Barberchair Net on all social media platforms. Follow our partners, H&B Media, at H&B Media TV on Twitter and at H&B Media on Instagram, man. Of course, you subscribe to our Patreon, man, patreon.com/Barberchair Network. If you're listening to this on the podcast feed, the link is in the description box. If you are watching this on YouTube, take your phone up to the screen and it will take you to the QR code, which gives you all different 3 tiers. If you sign up for the $10 holiday, that is the Barberchair access fee, you get 25% off your first order on the Barberchair Network shop. That is bcnetshop.com, man. That is for first time subscribers, man. So get in tune with that, man. We got a nice show for y'all today. As you can see, Bang is not here. Dante's not here. Bang had family issue to take care of, so definitely our prayers up to Bang. Dante is on a golf course right now, but this is approved PTO, so he's all good. Courtney will be joining us in hour 2 as we break down divisional round, and then we're going to have the homie Kyron Samuels. We're going to talk a little bit about college football, where's Coach Prime going to go, and also the national championship. We were supposed to have the homie Chuck Inglish in today. He couldn't make it last minute. We'll have him back next week. That's, hopefully if his Lions win, we'll see. But definitely we'll holler at Chuck next week. But yeah, Mikey, how you feeling, bro?
I'm chilling, bro. Long weekend around us. I'm kind of on the IR. Reason number 58 why men shouldn't be in the kitchen unsupervised. Fuck my shit up and had to go get some stitches. I watched the entire Commanders Bucks game from the ER, but we here chilling, ready to talk some ball.
Well, at least they had the game on the ER. Sometimes the niggas have some random on.
Fire! Shout out to the ER. I think we went to the joint in Elmhurst. Fire! Every room had a TV laid up, personal bathroom, a chair for your guests. I was like, I'm cool. I'm chilling.
Yeah, when you sent that pic, I was like, dang, he in a nice one, like.
Yeah, I was posted.
If I went over here on 95th, it would have been a different thing.
No, it was funny though, because the doctor came in and he was kind of he was talking to me, but this is when they were in the it was when they were both tweaking within the 5-yard line when the Commanders were getting off 4th down. Then the Bucks gave it back up, and he's kind of like looking at me, and he's like, I think he wanted to be like, you got money on this, or are you good? Like, because he's like, is this an important game or something? I'm like, yeah, this playoffs, but I'm like, oh, my bad. And my girl's like kind of like hitting me on my knee, like, dude, pay attention. You over here bleeding all over the place. We here for a reason.
Like, I'm here to watch these playoff games too. But
yeah, I was chilling.
B-Dot in the chat, he said, you bums got a coach yet. How many episodes of Severance did you watch this week since the Packers won't be playing football? Answer that question, my brother. But let's just get right into it, man, with the local hour. Me and Mikey gonna hold it down, talk about these topics going on in Bears land right now. Bang isn't here, so I'm gonna say it's the local hour. I'm not gonna sing it like him, but the local hour is here. He said Dante using Patreon funds again. Dante think he's Tiger Woods right now. But I want to start off, man, talking about the pulse of the fan base, because I feel like right now this is a time where there's a lot of anxiety in Bears Twitter. There's been a lot of bickering in Bears Twitter over the last week. I have definitely been a part of that this week. And I feel like I won't say it started, because it's been going on since the season ended. But it really kind of took a bigger round of disappointment after the Commanders won their game on Sunday. Now, I already ranted on that this past Monday, so I won't do it again. But I think we're starting to get to the point now where Bears fans don't really know what they want, which I know this is probably not a shocking conclusion here, but I think Bears fans need to relax, take a breath, and let this whole thing play out. I know we all want the right coach. We all think our way is the right way. But I also think that we need to get out of the Ben Johnson or nothing mode. You know what I'm saying? And look at each candidate and think about it as who can actually bring something to the team. I've seen a lot of people upset about the Mike McCarthy rumors. When I brought up the Mike Tomlin thing very, very quickly before Mike Tomlin shut it down himself, people were bringing up that. And I feel like all this, the fan base, he's talking about, we want a team that we want a coach that's going to take us to the championship. And I hate to say this, but especially after the offseason, or after the season we just had, but we got to take it with baby steps, honestly. Like, I'm not thinking about championship next year. I think that you need to find you a coach that can be able to take you to the next level. And I hope it's Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson's still my number one, will be my number one. I just don't think we're in a position to look down on coaches like a Mike McCarthy. I saw somebody today tweeted a picture of Tom mocking it. Oh, he sounds like John Fox. I'm getting John Fox PTSD. And it's just so many stuff. I understand that Bears fans are not in the wrong here. I just want to put that out there. This is the Bears' fault that this franchise is like this. If the Bears acted like an actual good franchise, we wouldn't have all this scarred tissue and trust issues. It's because they keep messing up that we're having this conversation. So maybe I'm the one tripping that I'm expecting some realism here from the fan base. But Mikey, what's your pulse on what you've been seeing, not just from Bears Twitter or maybe anybody you've been spoken to? What's the pulse of the fan base to you these last 2 weeks since the season started as we wait to see who will be the next head coach?
I think obviously there's a lot of panic within the fan base, because this is probably the most important, not even probably, this is the most important hire that Ryan Poles will make, Kevin Warren will make, George McCaskey will make in their tenure, as Chicago Bears leaders. When you have somebody as skilled and someone as highly touted as Caleb Williams, you have to maximize his potential. You have to see it through. You've already wasted 1 full year of his on that rookie scale deal. So, with that being said, for a lot of us, even me and you, Scott, we've gotten into it a few times about difference of, opinions. And it's just it all comes down to, I know how we value the Bears. And I think a lot in conversation when I'm talking with you and I'm talking with the gang is like, I remove my fandom from it and I just view it from an outside looking in. And yes, there is a very terrible perception of the Chicago Bears, and they do not deserve the benefit of the doubt, whether that be from us as fans or whether that be from the outside media. So when people do come in and say, well, I think Jacksonville would be a better option for Ben Johnson, or somewhere like the Raiders, we automatically, associate them teams as ass well, you know what? There are people in Las Vegas and there are people in Jacksonville that assimilate, that associate the Bears with being ass as well too, for the same exact reasons. You just look and they're just terrible franchises. So it's all about, do you want shit, caca, or poo-poo? Like, which one are you going to be able to manifest? Which one are you going to be able to flush down the toilet quicker and honestly, provide some, some positive impact within your organization? So what you're seeing from fan bases is, we always talk about it for various things, that social media is amazing, but it's also a terrible, terrible tool that not everybody should have access to. So when you got people that are coming up and, faking sources or faking that they know, it goes to show how, not only in Chicago, but in Las Vegas, in Jacksonville, in New York and New Orleans, how crazed fans are for their football team. Roger Goodell really has the best product on the block, because you'll believe a fucking Twitter page with the avatar of a Portillo's burger over your belief, over, Adam Schefter, and it just goes to show that, football is king. Football dialogue year round is king. People love football, and that's not even mentioning the games that are going on. So, I think we're just seeing a lot of angst. I think, Bears fans and myself included and yourself included, we also there's that part of us that we expect them to fuck this up. Yeah. They have a track record of doing that. They have a track record of not going through with seeing the process the right way, or having the appropriate leaders at the helm to go ahead and identify how you complete this process. Just think about it how it was last week. We were tripping over the 20 names, and even earlier this week when names were added, it's like, all right, come on, what are you doing? You've had 2.5 months to create a short list. You've had 2.5 months to do your research. Why are you bringing in 20 names? And I see, you see it on Twitter and you see it on whatever site you're on, people going crazy over just the little stuff such as that. So it goes to show you where the head of the fan base is at. I think all of us are fucking deranged. I think all of us just want to see a winner and finally want to see, see sustained success on the field. And that's kind of where we're at. And it's going to lead into some of our other, conversations today as far as, coaching candidates and what's the best route. But I think all of us are just hungry to get this right. And I think it's because you see the potential in somebody like Caleb Williams. And if you fuck this up, then I honestly think there's no hope for this franchise.
Yeah, and I get the angst 100%. I had I don't know if I caught an argument or debate with somebody on Twitter this week about they said I was giving too rosy of a future. And I said, look, you can look at it wherever way you want. Me, myself, I've always been a glass half full person. I don't care what the situation is. It could be the worst thing ever. And I'm going to be like, oh, well, that's just how I am personally. So I think the trap that I fall into on Twitter is expecting everybody to think like me. But I think it's also what you said too. I think all of this from the fan base in general, no matter what side you're on, it comes down to, we just want this team to be good. And I think that's what the main thing is. We want this team to be good. No, they do not deserve the benefit of the doubt whatsoever. But I just feel like, for me personally, I'm going to wait till I react, till I have concrete information to react to. And like you said, we're reacting to every little thing with the search, 20 people. But I also feel like if they'd interviewed like 5 people, like, well, you don't ever want to just keep it to one person. Remember a year ago with Caleb Williams? And they're like, well, you got to interview all the potential quarterbacks. So it's always that kind of discussion too. Like, oh, and then when last year people are like, oh, it doesn't matter if they don't interview Jaden Daniels. A year later, oh, they didn't even sit down with Jaden Daniels, the gall. So it's like, I kind of feel like it's both sides to it. But really what I'm looking for is, let's just wait. If they hire a terrible person, kill them. Just kill them, go in. They don't deserve nothing. For me, it's just like, I'm going to wait for the process to play out. And I think that what I've been getting irritated with on Twitter is expecting people to have the same mindset.
Right. But even then, we really will not know if they got the hire right within at least 2 to 3 years. You know, 100%. I think in year 1 we all kind of knew Flus was kind of like, I think we all knew that was a bad hire. But also that was the first time ever that this franchise has willingly and openly admitted that, hey, we're going to enter a rebuild. So it was kind of like, I think the hiring of Flus and the roster moves that were there after, it kind of showed you which direction this team was going. And then you saw the flashes with Justin, and then you get DJ Moore, and it's like, okay, hold on, you can kind of build on this. And then that's where the coach and, all of his errors and the flubs came in with game management and how he called his defenses and critical, to critical points of the game. So, like even that, it's going to be a while. We can hire Todd Monken. Can't nobody say for, definitively that he is not the right guy, on day one. You're going to have to see it through. And realistically, the pressure is all on Ryan Poles because we have all seen some of the roster flaws in this team that he's constructed, and it's really on him. Like, I think for the most part, out of all of the candidates we've heard, like the serious candidates, I'm not talking about the Mike Kafkas or the Drew Pretzigs or the Matt Campbell from Iowa State. I mean, like the real guys, like the Ben Johnsons, the Todd Monken, I just want
to answer this real quick for that guy for the Todd Monken. Yes, he's interviewing tomorrow for the job. So yes, it is real. Go ahead.
Yeah, so like, the Brian Flores, the Aaron Glenn's, like those real guys, I think we can all confidently say that, like, we would probably feel comfortable saying on day one they're probably better than Matt Eberflus.
Yeah, 100. I didn't know who the nigga was. Like, I heard about him from watching. Remember the Colts in season Hard Knocks? That's the only thing I knew about him. I just knew his defenses weren't, off the charts. I'm like, if you want to hire a defensive mind, at least let it be like, Aaron Glenn's defense is great.
Correct. Or it's not even like you're hiring, like they hire somebody at the level of a Brian Flores or Robert Salah.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Like it was somebody, it was very Jim Boylan of them, to reference to, with the Bulls. So it's gonna be interesting to see how it plays out. I'm really interested in with how. Oh yeah, Alex is right. Monken, you know what? That's true because today is Friday. I'll be honest with you. I thought today was fucking Wednesday.
It's been a long week, bro. Like,
yeah, it's been the fastest, longest January ever.
Bro, it's January 17th. It's been almost 3 weeks since New Year's, and it felt like it was 2 weeks since New Year's.
Yeah. So, I like, for me, I really want to know what's the purpose of interviewing Brian Flores on tomorrow when you could just wait until Monday and bring him in the building.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, to me, does that signal he's maybe not as real of a candidate as one would think?
I hope to God.
Because that's racism, man. That's my Latino brother right there. But I really wonder about the order in that and why on Saturday when you could bring him in on Monday.
And that's actually a perfect segue into Ben Johnson, which is what everybody wants to hear about, man. And I'm gonna play devil's advocate real quick. When it comes to all the Ben Johnson love, and I just want to be clear. Ben is my very, very clear number one. In fact, he's my number two. I want Ben Johnson to be the head coach of this team and usher us into the next era. I'm willing to make that gamble. But also, Bears fans have to understand is what I just said. It is a gamble. And we don't know. Like you just said, we don't know who any of these coaches are going to be. And the only coach that we can see that actually has a track record would be Mike McCarthy. But I'm going to talk about the offensive guru thing that's been going around probably last 10 years. It's copycat league. If you look at all of them, there's only one that you can really see. Well, two. I'll say two that have really, really been successful. And I'm not talking about like the old school Andy Reid. Andy Reid is 30 years ago. You know what I'm saying? And honestly, the conversation with Andy Reid was a lot different. Him leaving Philly when he came to Kansas City. I know some of y'all young out there, and y'all don't remember when he lost 3 NFC championship games in a row and then lost Super Bowl. There was a lot of and clock management. We heard a lot about that in his first run as head coach. But I think it's a gamble. And I will understand if Kevin Warren didn't want to make that gamble, especially with all the culture stuff we heard this year of how bad the locker room was, that you want a guy who's done this before and has success in it, that maybe the Bears infrastructure isn't the place to be where you would take a new coach and he would be able to do his thing. But if you look at the 8 coaches remaining in the NFL playoffs right now, it's very much a mixed bag. Of course, in the AFC, you got Andy Reid. We know his history. You got John Harbaugh. He is a defensive mind. You've got DeMeco Ryans, defensive mind. You've got Sean McDermott, defensive mind. So, you've got it's a mix. And in the NFC, Sean McVay is the clear offensive guru thing that 100% worked. Kyle Shanahan worked too. I think the issue with Kyle Shanahan has been the fact he ain't really had a quarterback. So I'm not going to really hold that against him. The fact he was able to go to multiple Super Bowls with a Jimmy Garoppolo and a Brock Purdy says more about how good of a great of a coach he is, more than him just not getting it done. So you got the Sean McVay left. You got Dan Campbell. Comes from an offensive background, but he's more of a CEO type of head coach. You've got Nick Sirianni, defensive mind right there. You got Dan Campbell, defensive mind. So my point is, it's really a crapshoot. Whoever you get, no matter if it is a Ben Johnson or Todd Monken, you got to hope they bring in the right staff as well. So I think it's a big leap to get that. I just think Bears fans, we just stop acting like that's 100% a shoe-in. The thing I kept hearing was, I want to win a Super Bowl. I want to win a Super Bowl. I'm with you. I do too. But I just don't see how you can dump on somebody who's actually won a Super Bowl, no matter how long ago it was, compared to somebody who hasn't. That's the only confusion I have with that comparison. But a lot of reports out right now about Ben Johnson. A lot of people saying he's going to the Raiders. And then today, I feel like it's been kind of trickling back to the middle a little bit. You got Pac-Man Jones. I don't know how reliable his sources are. I don't know. But he says that he has a close friend. Of course, he's close friends with Deion. And that he heard that Deion wanted to go to Vegas. But the reason he didn't go to Vegas is because that the Ben Johnson thing is pretty much set in stone, and that he's not leaving Colorado, and that Kellen Moore is going to be the next head coach of Cowboy. I don't know if that's true. Adam Schefter was on McAfee today. He says that he's not buying the Raider thing. He doesn't understand why people aren't taking the Bears more seriously. I think it was Jeremy Fowler kind of repeated what he said. You got Courtney Cronin came out, said she doesn't think that he's out of it. So it's been a lot of mixed bag. And then we have David Kaplan earlier this week said that Ben Johnson has shut down all interviews. He's not even thinking about a job until after the conclusion of the Bears season. So I'm going to go to Mike. I want your opinion first. Me and you've had a debate about this in the group chats. I was saying that the reason why it's hard for me to believe is because I don't believe it would be a football decision. I think if he went to the Raiders, it would be because they just gave him a ridiculous contract. And I just didn't see the way to get to contention for the Raiders. So what's your take on everything you've been hearing, and what do you believe, what don't you believe?
Well, I have been telling you, like I told you, I'm going to look at it from the outside looking in. What is one thing that a lot of these coaches want, especially for their first-time job? They want stability. They want to know that they got their guy in place, that their guy won't snake them, that they're coming in with a clean, fresh slate. So that's why I, actually do view the Raiders as a serious contender. You have an owner with money. Obviously, he was strapped for cash, but since he's gone ahead and sold about 25% of it, to investors like, different ownership, such as, Tom Brady. And there's another group that has a bigger percentage than Tom Brady in there that has liquidity and has some bread. Like, things are going to be on the up and up there. You have a brand new stadium. There's going to be pressure for that franchise to work in that stadium. There's a lot going on with this Vegas move. The same with Jacksonville. I thought Jacksonville was a realistic opportunity for somebody like Ben Johnson, as a first-time head coach, if they moved on from Trent Baalke. But, Jacksonville can't get out of their own way on that one. So I can see the allure to other spots. Like I told you in the group chat, you can sell as long you're 100% right. Money will be a factor on if somebody like Ben Johnson, who has gone to the altar with the Commanders and got cold feet and said no, who has interviewed with the Panthers and told them no. Both of those instances, he wasn't really a fan of ownership. He wasn't a fan of David Tepper. He told the people, that new group that came in for the Commanders that you guys are a little bit too cocky. You guys are all basketball guys. I don't think you can make this work, knowing football. And that was something he's not comfortable with. And then, when you go like, okay, if that's your answer last year in 2023, that you guys are basketball guys, you guys don't really know shit. Well, oh shit, I'm going to the Raiders and they got Tom Brady. And Mark Davis has cleared the way to be like, yo, ISO, I'm letting you, kind of steer this shit because clearly I'm doing something wrong. I'm just going to go ahead and have the checkbook. Plus we have our other, partners that have the checkbook. It's very intriguing. It's very intriguing, especially for a young offensive guy. How I was selling it to you was the Raiders are not under any pressure to win now. So you can go ahead and depending on what is to come with the Detroit Lions. Say they do end up hosting that trophy, at the end of this year. Then you know what? Ben Johnson is cool. He could rock for 2 years on rebuilding the roster in his image and what he sees fits and what he thinks works, because he's got an ownership group and a new GM that is coming in under the same guys. It's like Ryan Poles when he came to the Bears. Hey, I'm coming to the Bears for the first-time head coach. We're going to clear all of these veterans. We're going to go ahead and make trades. We're going to get this cap space, and we're going to rebuild it and come back in, 2 years. So I can see the allure there. But for me, I think Chicago is still the best option for him because you are getting that quarterback prospect. Now, I will no longer call Caleb a one of one because there are people in his class that have come in and have done things that, other quarterbacks don't. But I still will take Caleb 1-1 if I'm doing the redraft because I believe the talent is there. So when you get the opportunity to work with somebody with that skill set on a rookie deal, the offense has guys in Roma Dunze, Cole Kmet, DJ Moore. Like the meal is a little bit more cooked. You might got to add a little adobo to it and a little bit of seasoning and maybe, a little garlic powder here and remove a few things. But I think there's more ingredients to cook with there. Now it all comes down to what do the Bears, what do the Bears want? Do they want somebody in this window of Caleb's rookie contract that is a proven veteran guy that has been a head coach before, that has run an offense, run the defense, run team meetings, has completed a schedule, knows how to have a travel itinerary, all of those type of things, has run a full offseason mini camp for rookies, has been in a draft, all of that? Or do they want the offensive young hotshot guy that they're going to go ahead and give him a shot to run his own program? And I think that's where you see a lot in the media of this push and pull with, well, who's in charge? Is it Kevin Warren or is it Ryan Poles? And just to go off of your point, as far as, with some of these coaches that we got in the playoffs this year, Houston Texans for this weekend, Houston Texans, first-time head coach. Detroit Lions, first-time head coach. Sean McVay, Rams, first-time head coach. Nick Sirianni, first-time head coach. Harbaugh in Baltimore, first-time head coach. Sean McDermott in Buffalo, first-time head coach. The only retreads are Andy Reid and Dan Quinn. So to say that you need somebody with experience, listen, everybody was a virgin at one point. You don't just get off the porch putting up 80, cracking dime pieces. Like, you kind of got to work your way up.
You got to work it out, right?
You got to work it out. So if Ben Johnson is coming through with his V card and he's seeing that, hey, I can make this work and I can get this bitch busting in a division that he's comfortable in. That's one thing that I don't agree with. People always trying to say, oh, well, he's got to go up against the Vikings and the Packers and the Lions. He knows the Lions like the back of his hands, and that's just scheme. That's just going to be scheme, and that's just talent. He goes up against the Packers and the Vikings 2 times a year against both of them, and he's owned them. Brian Flores has only given up 30 points like 7 times as the DC of the Vikings. Ben Johnson got 4 of those.
Yep. Yeah. And I think too, that's a good point about the one-timers. And you got the proof of Harbaugh been there since what? Niggas in college. Like
right. And Harbaugh, and to his defense, he's a special teams coach that was elevated to being a head coach. Yeah. So sometimes, you can say offense, defense, it could be anything. Sometimes you just need a guy. You just need a guy that has a vision that could really, it might sound cliche, but really command the locker room, because these are not kids. These are not kids trying to make it to the NFL. No, these are grown-ass men with family, with wives, with side bitches, with kids, with mortgages, with different businesses, and they're trying to get paid. So it
and
does.
kids who coming in paid. Caleb had a penthouse
100%.
last year. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, 100%. Caleb was living on his own in high school.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think this is just really about, like I said, getting the right guy. But the thing about the Raiders thing was like why it would be a tougher sell for me. Not granted, we've heard since day one, it's all about alignment. So yes, definitely you saw me, I'm in the shop with side bits. That's hilarious. But it's definitely going up with what he said since day one. He wanted to be aligned with the general manager. Now, from the things that we've heard, and this is why it's so hard to really know what exactly is his interest with the Bears, like what's the situation between both teams. Because as a guy who's covered the team for 4 years, I'm be real, there's only like a couple people who really know what's going on. I've said that, and this is not for me to say that nobody else on the beat knows what's going on. I'm not saying that, but there's usually 3 names that when they say something, my ears perk up. It's Biggs, it's Courtney Cronin, Adam Johns, and usually, and they're like the more scoop people on the beat, I guess. Those are the ones I really listen to. But it's like we don't really know. We really haven't heard anything from them about the space. I mean, Courtney has spoken the most about it. And one thing that you sent to the chat, and one thing I watched today was she saying that Marcus Freeman, pay attention to this next couple days. I know he's got a presser. Say, I don't know if it's going on right now or it's later on today, but I'm really interested to see. They're going to ask him about it, what his responses are going to be. Is he going to shoot him down, or is he going to be like, oh, we'll worry about that after the thing? One thing she said on Cap and J Hood this morning was, or yesterday, don't be surprised if he's being interviewed on Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. All right, so that's something to pay attention to. But with the Ben Johnson thing if they're doing a long-term thing, it makes more sense. I think with the Bears, when Ryan Poles came, it was a little different because you still had Justin Fields. You still had to see, is there anything in Justin Fields? Unless they're trying to get a retread, which if you're trying to rebuild, you probably don't want to get a retread. You probably just want to be bad. So you can get you a quarterback later on. You can sell you in a little bit, but at the same time, it's like, what's the leash that he's gonna have?
It's gonna be long. It's gonna be a long leash.
Like how many years do you think the leash would be?
I believe his contract, he's not signing a 4-year deal to leave. So I believe any deal that Ben Johnson gets off rip is at 6 to 7 years. Realistically, that's the type of deal he's gonna get. I mean, Matt Eberflus had 5. So I think he's looking at a 6 to 7 year deal, being that he's young and being that Tom. Listen, I'm big on Tom Brady's word can only go so far. Yeah, like he's not lacing them up. It's not like he's out there healthy and he's gonna play, but Tom Brady will probably be the first to say he could play, he can't play, roster turnover here, in agreement with what Ben Johnson sees, right? Yeah. So I think it would be a full understanding of, hey, we got to rebuild this 2-year rebuild probably. And that's the thing. Bears fans, don't let Ryan Poles fuck your head up and think these things take 5 years. Right. They really do not. They really do not. At all. It could be 1 year. Look at the Cincinnati Bengals. As long as you hit on that guy and you got, some talent, it could happen in a heartbeat. You don't need a very long, runway. This isn't the Philadelphia Sixers and trust in the process.
And I go even further. I don't really believe the term rebuild exists in the NFL. I think it's more retools. Like it's not like a 5-6 year thing.
It's only a rebuild to me. But yeah, like Alex said, the Commanders, it's only a rebuild to me if the key pieces you're moving off of are like the veteran quarterbacks, right? So the Lions underwent a rebuild. I mean, they were also terrible, but they picked the lane where we got to get rid of, Matthew Stafford, and we got to get younger. We got to get draft picks. A lot of those picks are picks that they use from the LA Rams deal in obtaining Jared Goff. And remember, Jared Goff was thrown away. Jared Goff was not sure if he was even going to be retained. They was talking that first year that they're going to draft another quarterback.
Yeah, I remember, and the talk on LA Sports Radio at the time was like, this is a steal. Like, that's how people were envisioning the trade in LA. I don't know how they're envisioning in Detroit, But in LA, remember there was a point Jared Goff almost got benched in Detroit. Goff tells this story all the time that he came to Dan Campbell's office. And he thought he was going to get benched, and that's also the thing about getting coached. Dan Campbell got clowned at his opening press. Like, who is this meathead, and all the Lions being the Lions. So it's really about you having faith in what you're doing, and of course, there's no reason for Bears fans to have faith in what Ryan Poles and them are doing. But I think the reason I'm waiting is because I don't really know what's the status between the Bears and because we keep hearing different things. We're hearing that from different sources that Ryan Poles wants him, and Kevin Warren might want somebody who's established. And then today we hear that now both Poles and Warren Warren. I don't know what to believe. So it's like Jaden Daniels, I'm gonna let go of my hate watch this week. I'm gonna need you to do a solid. Do me a solid so we can get this ball rolling, because if they win, we got to keep waiting. And I think we made I think people made too much of the McCarthy interest. And I say that because shout out to Sylvie for saying that McCarthy was the one who wanted to meet in person, not the Bears. He was like, well, since I've got time on my hands, I might as well come in person. Wasn't the Bears signaling him out? And I do believe he's a candidate, but let's go into that. A lot of people don't like the Mike McCarthy interest at all. And I just want to say on the record, if you think I'm lying, you can go back and listen to 79th and Hallis episodes from 2018 when he got fired. I always felt that Mike McCarthy got too much of the blame for what happened in Green Bay. I think that because of how great Aaron Rodgers is, we don't ever put any blame in him. I think it was a mix. I think it was a 50-50 thing. I think McCarthy could have been better in situations, but this is not me saying this now. I said this 7 years ago. And if you look at some of the Cowboys also in the playoffs, a lot of that was Dak too. Like that's a lot of that was Dak too. A lot of that was Dak. A lot of that was also you ran into the Niners twice that were that were stacked. They weren't this year's Niners. Nope. And then obviously getting fucking boned by by Jordan Love last year. But how you were saying you think it's Rodgers, I also put some on previous general manager for the Packers because 100%. There was a time where there was just no interest to sign free agents. Yep. He was having to cook with just homegrown talent. They weren't going out there and throwing big bags at people. Yeah, and then remember they didn't spend a first rounder on a skill player for like a long time. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. So I want to get into the pros and the cons. I just want to say about this Mike McCarthy. There's two things I'm tired of. One, I'm tired of this is like John Fox. No, it's not. John Fox don't have a Super Bowl ring. John Fox was not an offensive guy. John Fox didn't have multiple years of 12-win seasons. And on top of that, look at what John Fox got. Like Mike McCarthy comes here, he's getting Caleb Williams. John Fox got last 2 seasons, Jay Cutler. And then when he said he either wanted Jamal Adams or Deshaun Watson, and Ryan Pace is like, nah, I'm finna go get Mr. Trubisky. You know what I'm saying? So on top of that, Alex John was also 1 foot out the door. You know what I'm saying? Like he knew this is it. So I don't like that comparison. And number 2, we also got to stop saying, oh, you can get a lot worse. I think Mike McCarthy's a good coach. I don't think he's great. I think he's a good coach. If we take away Mike Tomlin's Call of Duty speeches that I love, that's the same dude. He's offensive and he has a better playoff record. So those 2 things I got there. And I think the main thing I've heard was, they always get to the divisional round or NFC championship game and they lose. We would only be so blessed. Hey, thank you. That's what I'm saying. We would only be so blessed. It's like the conversation of, I want an offensive coordinator because if we get a defensive coordinator, the OC is going to cook with Caleb and then he's going to leave. Like, little too much dip on your chip. We have yet to see that outside of Adam Gase, and we all saw how that worked. We have yet to see that. And on top of that, it's like, bro, like you just said, I worry about that bridge. What's time to cross it? If we get to the point when we winning 10, 11, 12 games every year and we just can't get past the second round, then we'll address that. I just want to see. Thank you, Shane. Boy, I would love to watch a playoff game. We ain't seen a playoff game in so long. Bro. I would love for Thanksgiving game to be meaningful. I would love for December 1st and
even if we looking at the last spot in the wild card, I want the game to matter. We've been, this year we made it the furthest in being relevant in the last few years, and that was only until Halloween. Halloween came, and that was it. That was it.
It was a wrap. It was a wrap. So it's like, I get what y'all are saying, and I don't want to say beggars can't be choosers. I don't want to say that either, because I do feel like we should aim higher. But a guy who said, he's 11-11. So what? That's 20 plus playoff games, my nigga. Like, have the Bears even been in 20 plus playoff games in the last 100 years? It's a serious question. I don't even think they have. So, that's the thing where it's like, if you get to that point, we'll worry about that. And if you look at all these situations with the Packers and with the Cowboys, what you're telling me is that you don't believe that Caleb Williams' ceiling is bigger than Dak Prescott? That's what you're telling me? I think his ceiling is better. It's bigger, at least. He has a chance to be better. So I'm going to take that, that chance, I guess. I think the pros to me is what I just said. A guy who's proven he can do it, a guy who is an offensive guy, a guy who has a system. Just last year, the Cowboys had the number 1 ranked offense. Now, for everybody who's like, they got to get the offensive line, you got to get offensive line no matter who the head coach. If you think Ben Johnson going to run his offense with the offensive line we got right now, I don't know what to tell you.
That's another thing I don't like. I don't like the is Sewell coming with them? Is Decker coming with him? Is Jahmyr Gibbs coming with them? No, they're not coming with them. But it's Ryan Pohl's job to go and identify them. You're letting him off the hook. He sat on his ass this year going into the season with over $20 million in cap space that he could have used. Listen, everything with the Bears is an overcorrection to past mistakes. You are now in the mix of overcorrecting. If you go and hire a veteran coach, like somebody like Mike McCarthy or Pete Carroll, you're overcorrecting your mistake in hiring a first-time coach in Matt Eberflus. You're overcorrecting. When you draft Caleb Williams and you let Justin Fields go, although I agree with it, and Caleb is better to me as a pure passer, and the upside is higher, and I'm fine with, I'll make that deal 10 out of 10 after what we saw. When you make the decision to move on from Caleb, you are overcorrecting the mistakes made by Ryan Pace and taking Justin Fields and your own mistakes in not developing him, and you also put more pressure on yourself to develop somebody better. It's almost as if Ryan Poles and these people are waiting on, like, save us, Caleb, save us from ourselves. Like, they kind of wanted to put some unfair pressure on him. Yeah. Now, you go and you refuse with money. You refuse to pay for a Danielle Hunter. You didn't get into Jonathan Grenard sweepstakes. Now you're going to have to overcorrect that this year and probably go heavy in the draft on certain positions, as far as, edge rusher, or, like, you're overcorrecting for previous mistakes. When you went and you took, how many secondaries did they take? You take Kyler Gordon, you take Jaquan Brisker, you take Tyreek Stevenson, but you allow good offensive linemen and defensive linemen to go past, and now you're overcorrecting. When you go and you trade a second-round pick for Chase Claypool, but now with 2 top 10 picks, you got to waste one of them on a wide receiver instead of a Jared Verse. Right, spending money instead of a Jared Verse or another Olu Fashanu, whatever. And I'm fine with the wrong pick as well. All I'm saying is everything is an overcorrection. You're not getting it right on your first time. You're not even coming close in some of these instances. Nope. So for me, I don't want to put these guys on the hook by saying, Jahmyr Gibbs isn't coming, Sam Laporte isn't getting. Motherfucker, go find them. That is your job, to go find them as the GM. And as far as Mike McCarthy, look. The Cowboys finished with the top 5 offense under McCarthy in each of the 3 seasons that he had a healthy Dak Prescott. That's another thing people aren't talking about. They have really bad injury luck. I mean, look at this season. This season was derailed.
Cooper Rush moving the ball,
and they didn't give up. They didn't give up. They still played hard for him. When he was hot, listen to this. Doesn't this, like, for Bears fans that shun this down? I don't know if it's because you watch all these sports shows or you're consistently hearing the name like the Cowboys just because of the, or you're hearing the Cowboys just because they're a brand. But I don't think you really know how inept they have been for the, in the duration that we have been. Listen to this. When Mike McCarthy was hired in 2020, the Cowboys had not made consecutive trips to the postseason since 2006, 2007. And ultimately, his 3 straight 12-win campaigns from 2021 to 2023 marked the club's best regular season stretch since 1993 and 1995. So he was doing shit what y'all are looking at as mediocre and not passing as, you know, for a good coach or having good teams. He was doing shit that in their highly touted franchise organization that they hadn't done in so long. Yeah. You know, we're talking about them not having, well, they hadn't reached the playoffs since the Bears were in the Super Bowl.
Yep. And that's a good point, Alex, too. He had no control over it. Made him, Jerry Jones made him keep Kellen Moore, made him hire Zimmer, made him fire his O-line coach. He had no control at the same time, too, and he's still doing that.
No, and yeah, 100%, bro. And that's just, you know, some of that shit is, you know, some of these things is this hot tech media and the sports that how we consume music now. It's just the same way we consume music now. Listen to it, boom, throw it away. It's over within 3 days. Classic. Trash, you know, oh, blah, blah, blah. 6 out of 10, you know, after 1 hour of listening to it, shit like that. It's the same way these sports takes are. It's the same way we got into the Bryce Young, CJ Stroud shit last year. Now we're doing the same shit with the Jaden Daniels, Caleb. It's always going to be a revolving door that, like, I can't tell people how to fan, but Rome wasn't built in a single day, you know? Organizations can't be changed in a year. I 100% believe that, and I believe there's more proof and facts to show that, but you gotta really realize what you're talking to. We're looking at, you know, there's a such thing as out of town stupid, right? There's people that are out of town stupid when it comes to the Bears. Well, we are out of town stupid when it comes to other franchises. Exactly. You would have never known that fact. I would have never known that fact unless I did my research that they hadn't gone to back-to-back postseasons since we were juniors and seniors in high school.
It's a long ass time.
The way they talk about it, you think that they in the bitch every year.
Every year. And yeah, I didn't even know that till you said the stat. And I think what you said is true because, yes, the Bears organization is trash. But what I kept telling people since this process started, I was like, the Jaguars and Raiders ain't much better. Like, if you want to be real, like the Jaguars, why they kept Trent Baalke, I don't know. And we know that, you know, it's different power struggle in the Raiders now, but they're on their third GM in the last couple of years. Like, and I always said, if you're looking for a coach, 9 times out of 10, it's not a good situation. So let's just, if you're looking for a coach right now, 9 times out of 10, you're not in a good situation. And like you said, you can make a 1 year turnover. Look at Washington. They won 4 games last year.
And they got rid of a lot of their roster. They went and added at key spots. They went and got Tyler Biadasz at center. You know, they really never improved their skill weapons. They ran with Brian Robinson Jr. They just picked up an older Austin Eckler. They still were rocking with Terry McLaurin. They gave Zach Ertz a deal, you know, but they didn't go and like, you know, what did they do? They went and invested in their secondary that had been terrible. They went and got, you know, they got healthy. They got Jonathan Allen back. They had Deron Payne back. They went and got, you know, a real veteran, somebody that I think we would benefit from. Not him, but we need a player with his type of cachet in the locker room, and Bobby Wagner. You know, and then they got a head coach and an offensive, a head coach and somebody that's been to a Super Bowl before, somebody that's manned some tough defenses before. You go and you get, you know, Cliff Kingsbury, who is obviously has success in the style of offense that Jaden Daniels is used to in college. Somebody who's been a head coach before. You got professionals in the building, you know, and that's just something that we're lacking.
Those 2 hirings are also hirings that Bears fans would have lost their shit on. If the Bears would have hired Dan Quinn, oh my God, 28
out of town stupid. You know, and
there was only a few of us who was like, yeah, I wouldn't have no problem with Cliff Kings being offensive coordinator. I got so much pushback on that last year, much pushback on that. And I'm like, he's not head coach, he's offensive coordinator. But you gotta believe in who you're hiring.
Yeah, no, 100%. You gotta have conviction in it, and you just gotta do things right. And for me, this is why it always goes back to George. It's just one constant. And, you know, Connor Roy, it's like Connor Roy woke up one day and he just came with the slogan, Conor Roy has always been into politics, you know, and that's George McCaskey or
Yeah.
George McCaskey. George McCaskey's always wanted to be president of the Chicago Bears.
And they always talk about that too. Like, oh yeah, he's the guy who, you know, the Cubs give him sweet tickets. Be like, no, I'd rather be there in the crowd with my hot dog. Like,
you know, like it's just shit like that, you know, it's, you know, and I understand, you know, the Kevin Warren first class, you know, I still don't understand what first class means.
I don't know anything he does.
I don't know what first class means, but, you know, you just got to do things the right way. And for so long, they have not done it. It's clear as day that they have not done it because nothing has worked. And, you know, and just one last point to the Ben Johnson thing. You know, it's think of everything that we're, you know, discussing, the Kevin Warren dynamic, the Ryan Poles dynamic, the George McCaskey dynamic, the years of ineptitude. Yes, other franchises have had the same, but if all things are equal, you're going to give me a bigger bag and you're going to give me a clean slate. It makes a no-brainer. Like, yeah, I don't got the quarterback, but I could if I'm as confident as I think I am in my offense and what I've put on tape over the last 3 years, I can make it work, you know, and we could be serviceable until I get, you know, the right guy.
That's a good point. And it'll be a lot less pressure. Because the pressure cooker is here. Last topic of the local hour. I want to talk about who we think our finalists are going to be. Courtney Cronin did say expect for this search to pick up next week. Starting on Monday, they can start interviewing people in person who are currently employed by other teams. Now, let's just say the Lions win on Sunday. They can't interview Ben in person until the 27th. That's right after the conference championship, so like the bye week before they head down to New Orleans and things like that. So keep that in mind. They're interviewing Todd Monken today. Interviewing Brian Flores tomorrow, both are virtual interviews. And then we're going to wait and see what happens after the national championship. Because the way Courtney Cronin was talking about it, she really thinks there's a really good chance that they'll interview Marcus Freeman if he is interested.
And there's also the fact that there are two people that have yet to interview with the Bears and or confirm if they want to, and that's Joe Brady and Cliff Kingsbury. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
both of those guys could be out of the playoffs this weekend. Both of them could be advancing, and maybe some of the other guys come up. You know, so now you can bring in a Todd Monken and a Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn in building. So I think there's, you know, I was thinking about this on my way home today, and I think the reason that this process is going so slow, outside of the Mike Vrabel, which is the unanimous fit for the Patriots, was the fact that all of the top candidates are
in the playoffs.
They're just, you know, like they're really, even from Aaron Glenn down to the lower level of Brian Flores, down to Liam Cohen. You know, he was just out this week, but all of the top guys, Aaron Glenn, Ben Johnson, Brian Flores, you know, Kellen Moore, Joe Brady, those guys. Yeah, Todd Monken. Those guys are still in the playoffs. So it's just, the NFL is going to have to find a way to change this process because it's taking too long. You got the Senior Bowl the same week as the Bears would be able to bring in somebody like Ben Johnson, you know?
Yeah, and then they also got it where all these new rules, like even the teams, even the players, I mean, even the coaches who not in the playoffs, they can't even be in the building till Monday. Like there's so many. I get they wanted to drag it out, but it really just makes it annoying at this point.
Right. Like if Liam Cohen, they lost on Sunday. I think the rule is you got to wait 3 days until after your last game till you're basically off of work. So Liam Cohen should have been able to have been in the building today. You know, like it shouldn't have to wait till next week.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then even with the Rooney Rule, we talked about the Rooney Rule on the show last week, but you got to do both of them in person. You know what I'm saying? To be Rooney Rule compliant, you got to do both of yours in person. So for those of you counting at home, the Bears have only done one Rooney Rule in person. That was Ron Rivera. And the Raiders interviewed Ron Rivera today as well. That one was also in person. So
they don't even have one scheduled for next week.
Who, the Raiders?
No, I'm saying the Bears. They don't have one scheduled for next week. You're doing Brian Flores. You know, if whoever they're bringing in next week, it seems like it's going to
be Marcus Freeman. That's what it kind of feels
right.
Like.
But it seems like it's going to be whoever they bring in next week is going to be their second interview. And it's unfortunate for somebody like, let's say Todd, let's say Joe Brady, right? Let's say the Ravens beat the Bills, and Ben Johnson and the Lions somehow get upset, right? As 9-point underdogs at home by the Commanders.
Yeah.
You're going to be bringing in Ben Johnson for his second interview in a week where now Joe Brady is only going to be getting his first interview. That candidate is already at a severe disadvantage because you've already done put in the homework and gotten the face-to-face time.
He might not even get it.
You know, right?
They might not let Ben leave the building.
And some of the reporting today from Mike Florio about Cliff Kingsbury is he's just going to wait to see how the season is, and he hasn't taken any interviews. And because of that factor that he'd be coming in to interview the first week that people are probably coming in for that second interview, he might not be willing to. He's probably not going to take a head coaching gig this offseason and wait till next year.
I feel Cliff for a couple reasons. One, there's so many candidates this year. And number two, the way it ended in Arizona, he might not be ready for that again. He might want to go to the perfect situation. So let's get into our finalists. I don't know. Do you want to do 3 finalists, 4 finalists?
We could do 3.
Let's do 3. This is who I think are going to be the 3 finalists. And I actually changed the third one last minute. First one, I think Ben Johnson, obviously, I think he's going to be a finalist. I think Mike McCarthy is going to be a finalist. My third one, you always got to leave room for a Bears one. And I think Marcus Freeman is going to be the third one. And when it initially came out, like during mid-season, when the season was still going on, my first initial was, he's just trying to get more money from Notre Dame. And then Notre Dame gave him an extension. But as we know, college football, there's a buyout. That doesn't really mean much. And we don't actually know if he actually penned the paper.
The same way Bill Belichick.
Yeah, I had no idea that he's been on recruiting trips and they still ain't signed. I don't care what Mike Lombardi says it's not a big deal. If it's not a big deal, why he ain't put his name on the paper? He been in the facility. So obviously it's a big deal. So I'm going to say it's going to be Ben. I think it's going to be Mike McCarthy, and I think it's going to be Marcus Freeman. And if Marcus Freeman doesn't take the interview, I'll throw Brian Flores in there just because you got to leave room for the Bears to do some Bears type stuff. So that's my 3 finalists.
Yeah, I'm looking right now. I'm just trying to see if folks has spoken yet. And the only thing I see is he's standing in front of Mike, and he just said he expects a heavyweight fight against Ohio State, and they look forward to it. But that was it. It seems like they just landed in Atlanta, and there was like a microphone set up on the tarmac, but nothing yet. So it's going to be interesting to see how, he responds to those overtures. And like, kind of like Courtney Cronin said, like, if you look, and it was kind of how we were talking about in the group chat too. If you lose on Sunday, you're still good because you're probably good at life for taking Notre Dame to a CFP championship, and you're building something. And he's showing that the NIL in the portal, he's been able to, turn it over in a year, 2 years. And if you win, then what more can you do? Your name will never be hotter. Your name will never be hotter. You risk more by staying at Notre Dame. You risk being Matt Campbell in Iowa State, or a David Shaw, whose name was buzzing 10 years ago,
right? Exactly,
but never jumped off the porch to the league. So I like your 3. I'm gonna ride with Ben Johnson. I'm gonna ride with Mike McCarthy, just because I do think he is a solid. I think he's the better veteran option of available.
He's the safest bet.
For me, it comes down to, okay, I gotta have one guy on my list that's been a head coach before and that has done it all, and I would take Mike McCarthy over Pete Carroll. And then the third for me is I think it's going to come down to Brian Flores. I think he's going to get that look. I think he's probably going to interview well. I think he speaks well. A man of God, man of faith. I think he's going to make himself look very good in this interview because he's going to probably be sincere and be humble, and show some humility and talking about, what went down in Miami and what he's learned, etc. So I think he'll interview well. And I think that's probably secretly who somebody like Kevin Warren wants. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to take him off the list, although he would not be in my top 5 of people I want. But I think in the end, those will be the 3 finalists. And I think it satisfies all parties. It satisfies a young first-time head coach, vet head coach that, you know, has been at multiple stops and can prove that he's done it and has developed quarterbacks. And I think number 3 is going to be that culture, leader of men guy looking for a second chance and, you know, willing to prove himself. I just would not put Caleb Williams' hands in development with Brian Flores. Nah,
especially not the way he talked to Tua. Like, that's the only hire that will make me irate. Like, that's the only one when you're gonna see me go like on a 10 tweet. Barrage.
I would be highly upset in that, and that would
I would be irate.
That would give me serious. Yeah. That would give
I
me
would be irate, bro. I'm not gonna lie.
Outside of watching Caleb play, that would probably damper my expectations going into the season. Not because I don't think he could coach, but I just think it doesn't instill any confidence. And it doesn't tell me that you actually want to be great.
Exactly. I agree with that, man. So that's all we got for the local hour, man. We're going to take a quick 1-minute break. On the other side, we got Courtney joining us. We're going to pick and preview the divisional round of the playoffs. And then we've got some college football talk with the homie Kyron Samuels. After that, we'll be right back in 1 minute.
So cool.
Triple double hat trick, I know the code too. Ice trade, go for trade, yeah we code too. Getting paper on display, I hate his old news. Money on the other line, so I'm not gonna hold you. Money on the other line, so I'm not gonna hold you. Money on the other line, so I'm not gonna hold you. Money on the other line, so I'm not gonna.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Here, I'm not gonna hold you. Me, Mikey, Courtney is in the building. Courtney is my favorite this week. Courtney was the MVP this week. I can't explain why she was the MVP this week, but Courtney put an MVP performance up this week. So the floor is yours. How are you feeling today?
Oh, I'm fantastic. Being, it's what did Shiv say about her dad? It was like being feeling the warmth from the sun. That's what it feels like when you're in Scott's good graces. Okay, the warmth of the sun after a very cold, blue winter.
That's hilarious.
And not only that, Courtney, you got like reason to celebrate because Jose Leclerc has signed with the Oakland A's, so you have been free of his shackle.
For 10 million American doll hairs, which is, I know we're not doing baseball talk right now, but if that's how much he's getting paid now, I do think that the A's are overpaying because they got to fill that fucking shitty ballpark that they're going to be playing out of with fans and give people a reason to come out. But
are they playing in Sacramento or something?
Yeah, they're playing in Sacramento. That's clearly he got $10 million for solely being able to throw 96 miles per hour. That's
it smells in Sacramento.
If you can't control it, that nigga scared the shit out of me every time. Good luck.
Getting close to baseball.
Or I guess in this case, Sacramento.
We are getting close to baseball. How far are we from pitchers and catchers reporting? Like
3 weeks.
First team's report on the 9th.
Whew, time flying, man. And we do have news surrounding the Super Bowl very soon. Not gonna tell you what it is yet. There's some news involving this program in the Super Bowl that I will have for y'all within the coming weeks. So pay attention for that news, man. But let's get into it. We are in the Elite Eight of the NFL, as I like to call it. We are down to the divisional round. We will know in about 72 hours who's going to be Championship Sunday. So we're going to break down top storylines and who we think are going to win in these weekends games, man. So we're going to start off first game of the week, Chiefs and Texans. Of course, the big storyline here is the Kansas City Chiefs looking to become the first team in NFL history to three-peat. Let me tell you how rare it is to three-peat. It's only happened 3 times in NBA history. I think it was the 60s Celtics did it. The Bulls, 90s Bulls did it twice. And then Kobe and Shaq Lakers were the last ones to do. I think MLB, I think the Yankees did it. Obviously, I'm not talking before pre-segregation. I don't know. I know they got 27 rings. I don't know how many were in succession, but I know in the modern times they won it 3 in a row with Jeter and all those boys from like 98 to 2000.
Breaking news.
What's the breaking news?
Roki Sasaki has indeed signed with the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Oh, there we go.
That was not a shocker at all.
Not a shocker at all.
They have locked him in. Earlier, he did tell the Padres he was out. It was down to the Padres and the Toronto Blue Jays, but he has decided on the Los Angeles Dodgers.
There we go. How shocking was that? You know what? One thing I did love was the multiple Cub fans who thought that it was going to come to the Cubs.
Ola and Alex.
Yeah. We're not
in Rome. They got Kyle Tucker. Okay, yeah. You got to relax. You got too much dip on your chip. You got one.
You know, Jed gonna make one move and then don't do nothing else. That's the Jed move. He does one move, gets fan base shut up, he'll do nothing else. But
he said he was gonna make some more moves, so we'll see.
We'll see.
He ain't got that much time, big dog. So
they'll get a closer.
You better go get Alex Bregman or some shit. He's still floating out there. But
he said Red Sox. I'll give you Boston Red Sox. He's gonna go to the Red Sox.
I was about to say he's gonna go to the AL East. I was gonna say Yankees, but it's gonna be somewhere that he's gonna go. But Chiefs Texans, like I said, last team to three-peat in sports was the Los Angeles Lakers. 2000-2002, they beat the New Jersey Nets. Something that in my early junior high gambling years, I won a good $50 off them. This is how you know people are stupid 8th graders, because who the fuck will bet on Ty McCullough, Check and Shaq? Like, what kind of shit is that? $50 when you're in 8th grade is like a couple racks. But so the Chiefs are trying to become the first NFL team to do that. And they're gonna be going up against the Houston Texans. Houston Texans have had a very average regular season due to all the hype they had coming in. A lot of people had them in the AFC Championship game, some had them in the Super Bowl, which they obviously still have a chance to do. They had CJ Stroud in MVP talk, and I think they were underdogs last week as a home team against the Chargers. That was the only game that I predicted wrong last week. Chargers and Texans. So that's what I'm gonna say about this game. Obviously, I'm going Chiefs. I mean, that's it. I think America, even though America has Chiefs fatigue, you want the Chiefs to win just so you can see them go against either Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen next week. You don't want to see CJ Stroud interrupting that potential matchup next week. So I got the Chiefs, but I do think this is going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a close game because of that defensive front that they have out there in Houston. And honestly, the secondary too. I like Stingley. He's been great. He had a great game last week. Will Anderson Jr., monster year, monster postseason. Now, it's going to be much different going against this Chiefs offensive line than it will be against going up that Chargers offensive line. The biggest question mark here is what CJ Stroud are you going to get? I know they won last week, but CJ wasn't remarkable. He got the job done, but he threw a couple BLTs. And one of them that should have counted with the Derwin James pick that they took away. That's going to be the problem going up against this Chiefs team. But I think it'll be close. But the storyline here to me is, can they be the team that gets the closest? Because if they win on Sunday, they get further than the last team who tried to three-peat, which was the New England Patriots. They lost in the divisional round in 2005. So I'm going to go Chiefs. I'm going to say 24-14. I think it's be a close game today. Maybe a field goal at the end gets them to a double-digit lead. But I'm going to say 24-14 Chiefs. And so I'm going to go with that one. Courtney, what you feel about this game? Who you taking?
Yeah, like you said, I think it might be a lot closer than people think. I'm hoping that at least of all the sort of underdog matchups, this is probably the most interesting for me. I wish it weren't in Kansas City, but I don't know. I think you might be right, Scott. I think it might be closer than we think. It just depends, like you said, on which version of CJ Stroud we're going to get. Shit. I think it might be decided by a field goal.
Okay, I like that.
Think it's gonna come down to Bucker.
I mean, that would unfortunately be the way that it's going. Yeah, sadly. Or if I'm like Doctor Strange, okay, and I've like I've simulated how many different ways this is gonna go. There are a couple of instances in my mind. You know, defense plays like they did last week. Again, I know the Chiefs are very different from the Chargers. Defense plays like they did last week. Couple turnovers go your way. I mean, don't get me wrong. Patrick Mahomes can throw a BLT as well. Let's not get it twisted. Hey, get a little turnover. Could be Fairbarn hitting that game-winning field goal.
Kaini. Yeah, I agree with you guys that it's going to be a closer game. The Chiefs won 27-19. Excuse me. Back when they played, what was that? A couple weeks ago. What was that week? That was Christmas week or the week before Christmas, December 21st. It came down to the turnovers. CJ did throw 2 picks and the Chiefs played clean with the ball. I believe that was one of the first games back for Hollywood Brown and for, Isaiah Pacheco. So seeing where they are in round 2 in that matchup, I think that they're going to prove vital. The number one thing that just stands out for me is where the Chiefs where they rank in DVOA as far as pressure rate and blitz rate. They're number 6 in DVOA and pressure rate, bringing pressure 29.8% of the time. They're number 6 in blitz rate, blitzing at 35.4% of the time. I think you're still looking at a CJ Stroud with limited weapons. You got Mixon. I know he's a little banged up and he should be playing tomorrow, but you got a banged up running back. You got Dalton Schultz, Nico Collins, and then you're going to have to lean on some of those, second-year guys like, John Mechie. And I just think, in Arrowhead, that's going to be a tall feat for the Houston Texans. Give me the Chiefs 26-17.
Yeah, and Bobby Slow needs to actually use Mixon in the first half. Like
you might have to like rely on him.
Yeah,
he's got to be somebody that touches the ball probably 30 times combined, whether that's catching and rushing, to like really keep it close.
Yeah,
I want to just mention this now because it's something that once we get into the discussion about the Ravens and the Bills, if the Bills lose, it'll kind of be like, oh, Josh Allen, he didn't have that much to play with. I mean, the Chiefs are kind of in the same position offensively. So I'm curious to see if that energy will be matched if by some miraculous way that the Texans pull this out. I'm curious to see if that will also. If he'll get that same benefit of the doubt, Patrick Mahomes, that is.
I think they're starting to use Xavier Worthy like the right way. And I think they're starting to connect on some plays that they might have not had earlier in the year. And I think that's kind of been the key, opening up the field with Xavier Worthy. And then when you get, Pacheco's going to run extremely hard. And then, being able to get in somebody mixed in like Hollywood Brown. He's been throwing a lot to his other tight ends and like Noah Gray. You still got Travis Kelce. I think we might see one of those performances where he's just hitting everybody across the field. Like I'm just looking at the box score from that game where they played, and Mahomes was spreading the ball all over. Worthy had 7 receptions. Samaje Perine had 3. Hollywood Brown had 5. Hopkins had 4. Kelce had 5. Kareem Hunt had 2. Noah Gray 1. Pacheco 1. Like this is somebody he's going to be able to put it all over the field whenever he wants to. It's going to come down to, can they hold on to the ball, because this Texans defense has been getting pressure and has been causing some turnover.
That was the game that
what's his name died. Yeah.
So Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs out, but Nico Collins had a great game. This is going to be one of the games where if the Texans want to win,
game.
Yeah, right, 100%. They need a big Nico Collins and a big Joe Mixon game for them to have a chance. And even then, they worship the devil in Kansas City. That might not even matter.
I will say one thing, one stat. The Chiefs are 8.5-point favorites at home. 72%, or no, this is for Stafford. I'll save this for later.
Okay. Let's get into the nightcap on Saturday. This is a real interesting game here. Lions and Commanders, man. The Detroit Lions, they got a chance here to, make up for the wrongs of the NFC Championship game last year, and that is actually get to their first ever Super Bowl. But they got to beat a team that is, honestly, they have nothing to lose. And I usually hate saying, oh, you have nothing to lose when you're in the playoffs. Because technically, yes, you do. You don't know how many of these chances you're going to get. They're in the same division with the Eagles. So it's not like this is a shoe-in for them to be here every year. So I won't say they have nothing to lose, but they're playing with house money. I'll say that. They're playing with house money this week. I think you're going to see the most free football we've seen from Washington this year. And for the Lions, that's going to be scary. I think that the thing we saw from the defense 2 weeks ago when they played Minnesota was we started to see the decline of Sam Darnold that went into last Monday, a god-awful performance against the Los Angeles Rams. As we're seeing that it's going to be difficult now for that defense is so banged up, and you got to give props to Aaron Glenn. They've been playing well despite all the injuries. But now you're going up against Jaden Daniels. You're going up against Jaden Daniels, and the way they call the game for Jaden makes it so easy for him, and he's able to make those throws. I think one thing that killed the Buccaneers last year was not being able to stop him when he got on the run. Made those third downs very manageable. One thing we're not going to see in this game is probably a punt. Both Dans say fuck it. They do not care, Quinn or Campbell. And I'm with you, Orlando, in the chat. So the Lions better start out hot. Yeah, the Lions better come out and punch them in the mouth. If this is in the first quarter and this is a game, you don't want them to get comfortable if you're the Detroit Lions. I think this is going to be one of two things. I think it's either going to be a blowout and they knock them out right away, or it's going to be very close. The way that we've seen Jaden Daniels play this year, the way we've seen the Commanders play this year, I just think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be very, very close. And I think it's going to come down to a field goal. I really, really do. I'm going to go. I think it's going to be a high scoring game too. I'm going to go Lions 31, Commanders 28. But it would not shock me if we're sitting here Monday and they won. And that's how dangerous Jaden Daniels is. And just the way the play calling has been, and just the way this defense for the Lions has played majority of this season with all of the injuries, I think it's going to be trouble. But the Lions need to establish the run right away. You got Demo back. Get him and Jahmyr Gibbs running the ball and get the ball to Amon-Ra, to J-Mo, and just do your game. If they play their game, the Commanders ain't got a shot. But if the Commanders defense is a couple stops, it's going to be an interesting game, man. But I'm going to go Lions 31-28. Courtney, what you got?
Yeah, we are locked in together. I know I just talked about a legacy game for Nico Collins. Man, I want a Terry McLaurin legacy game here. I would love to see Jaden Daniels really get to Terry McLaurin early and often. And I'm still, Brian Robinson. You never know what you're going to get, and they're probably going to try to stop him. But man, fuck it, give me Washington. Listen, like you said, you got double doses of fucking crazy on both sidelines. We're not seeing a whole lot of punts in this game. And if anything, Commanders, you're really playing with house money, so why not go for it? Go for it. Send it.
Yeah.
That's what got you here. What's the difference between losing close or losing in an embarrassing fashion and getting blown out? You weren't really supposed to be here to begin with.
And that one thing you don't want, I'll say this and we'll go to Mikey. You do not want the ball in Jaden Daniels' hand at the end of the game.
Correct.
We've seen this season. That's what shit you just don't want. So take care of that. Go ahead, Mikey.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Lions to win, but I will take the Commanders to cover the 9.5 points, if that makes sense. I don't think it's gonna be as close as you had it, Scott, 31-28. But I do think we're probably looking at a touchdown game. Maybe we get like a backdoor cover. Maybe the Commanders score a TD in garbage time. But honestly, the Commanders secondary is there to be had.
Yep.
Ben Johnson is out here, This is every game is an audition for him. They're back full strength. I think people are completely forgetting that, David Montgomery is back, and just that element that it adds in the running game and in the passing game. He's had one of his best years in his career receiving the ball this year, in that Ben Johnson system. So I'm going to take the Lions. It's just interesting because, I tried to see who the Lions have played with a similar skill set to Jaden Daniels this year. And I can only go back to week 3 where they really had to face a true kind of dual threat QB, and that was in Kyler Murray. They won 20-13. And he had 207 yards passing, but he did have, 45 yards rushing. And I think that's something that they're going to have to limit, Jaden Daniels too. I think we're going to see kind of what they did to Caleb, that Thanksgiving game. If Jaden Daniels gets out there, they are going to try to crack him. And I don't put it past them for them to take the 15-yard penalty if they
they'll do that 100%.
If they lay a good hit on them, just because you got to send a message. But that place is going to be loud. They're going to be going crazy. Their defense really, I think they're number 28 in DVOA. Their defense, even though they're top 10 in DVOA and offense, but their defense is there to be had. I think a lot of people have a different perception of that game last week as well. The Bucs were able to move the ball on them. They just did not have the ball that often. The Commanders really controlled the clock and controlled the possessions, and it took the field goal for them to win. So I think this Lions team is going to go ahead and put up points. I'm looking at about 35 to 38 points on the Lions side, and maybe we're looking at, 38-27, 35-27 type game.
Definitely. We're gonna bring the homie Kyron Samuels in just a minute. But we're gonna go over the Sunday games. Eagles Rams. Eagle fans are mad at me this week, but for what I said on the show on Monday, from the way that Jalen Hurts performed, there was all in the YouTube comments. Had a couple people come at me on Twitter. Hey man, look, I'm just telling you what I see, bro. Of what I was not pleased by the performance on Sunday, even though I'm glad y'all did beat the Packers. It should not have been that close. This is a dangerous game here for the Eagles, man, because I really love how the Rams been playing. I've been love how the Rams been playing. Me and Mikey been saying this for a couple months now about the Rams play. Jared Verse playing out of his mind. Matthew Stafford is just in that mode. And it's funny because the Bears win against them early this season. I 100% know they would have lost now if Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua was playing, without a shadow of a doubt. I'm going to give Philly the benefit of the doubt here. I don't want to, but I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt because they are at home. Also because Jalen Hurts ain't played it a month. I'll shoot him some bail. But this is, again, we talk about hot starts. This is one right here. You need to come out a hot start. You don't want the Rams to establish their offense. You don't want the run again to get going. And that defense, they're going to be tested. I think this is going to be not a high-scoring game. I think it'll be like, regular score that you usually see. I'm going to go Eagles. I think Eagles will win. I'm going to say Eagles win 21-14. I think it'll be one of them type of games. I think all these games this week are going to be close. I'm going to say 21-14 Eagles, but it would not surprise me whatsoever if the Rams were able to find a way to win this game. Courtney, what you got?
Yeah, I'm with you. And yeah, Jared Verse has been playing out of his mind. But my question is, you got to go into Philly and play this fucking football game. Why are you yapping about Eagles fans?
Yeah, I didn't get that.
Yeah. Hate Eagles fans. Like, why would you ever throw gasoline on something that's quite literally already on fire? And I'm not trying to be insensitive. Maybe that's not the best analogy to use in reference to Los Angeles. Pardon me. But
hey, the president of the United States said fire away in a press conference.
Fair. But also that man also probably doesn't know where he is.
He doesn't know what year it is right now. Yeah,
correct. So maybe he's not the best. Do you think, the questions that they ask people when they're like, if they think you have a concussion, do you think they ask him if he knows, like, with the flashlight?
Yeah, he says, fuck off on the president. And then they leave him alone. But he only be that for
some days. I'm done.
Well, he only be that for 48 hours anyways. But yeah, go ahead.
But no, I got the Eagles. Hopefully, man, Jalen Hurts. Brother, please. I can't keep living like this. I feel like I'm constantly standing in a corner, like I'm fighting for you, bro. But like, you got to show me something. Because Matt Stafford has been playing as of late, like he could carve you up real quick. So yeah, give me the Eagles. But Jalen Hurts, man, he better not be on no bullshit. I don't like it. I'm not. It doesn't sit right with me.
Yeah, he better not. Go ahead, Mikey. Who you got?
So what I meant to get to is 72% of quarterbacks that have a Super Bowl ring that are getting points in the playoffs end up covering. I believe the Rams are 6.5-point underdogs. And Matthew Stafford has been playing at an insane level the last few weeks. What are it? It's they're 6-point underdogs. I also look back at that game where the Rams boat raced in LA 37-20. The Eagles had 314 rushing yards against them that game, and they beat them by 17 with only 10 extra plays. I think this game is going to be a little bit closer because I don't think Jalen Hurts is really healthy. I think he showed that last week. I agree with you, Scott. I thought the offense looked dookie outside of, capitalizing on some short fields and the fact that Jordan Love looked worse. But Puka Nacua had over 120 yards receiving against them that last time. I think, now that he's healthy, you're going to get Tyler Higbee back, Kyron Williams. I think this is going to be a closer game. I'm going to take the Rams with the upset. I think the Rams are clicking late. And I think there's just a little bit of more question marks surrounding Jalen Hurts' health. I don't expect this to be as high scoring of a game as it was in SoFi, but give me the Rams in an upset off a field goal.
I'm going on record. I'm rooting for the Rams, but I love Sean McVay. I'm a Sean McVay guy, and the Eagles Philadelphia fans piss me off. I'm sorry. I'm gonna double down on y'all. Piss me off. So yeah, I'm going for the Rams, but I think Eagles will go. Go ahead.
It's gonna be really interesting when you do the whole Vic Fangio versus Sean McVay, and Vic Fangio has known to get one up on Sean McVay, even back when he was, the Chicago Bears DC. He had some legendary performances against him. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. But I think Jalen Hurts is going to cough a few up. I think they're going to put pressure on him. And I think it's going to be a grind out game. I think it's going to be better than what it looked like Packers, Eagles. I think there might be some better offense going on, but I think when it gets late, it's going to get close.
Man, Eagles offensive line. When I went back and looked at a little bit of that game, there's a size difference. Pause.
Yeah.
Maybe not pause. Like that. There's that's a big ass offensive line compared. And listen, I saw Jared Verse run over Jordan Mailata once. Okay, in that game, and I think he had one total pressure in that game against the Eagles. Versus, I think he's had like 3 total pressures in every other game this season, except for that one. Something to just keep in mind. But hey, listen. It's going to be a dogfight, but I think the Eagles are winning this game.
Final game of the weekend. This is the game that everybody is looking forward to. This is Bills Ravens. This will be in Western New York at the Bills Stadium. I don't know the name of the stadium, so I'm not going to act like I know the name of the stadium is. They build a new one anyway. But the Ravens will not have Zay Flowers, even though John Harbaugh said it might be a chance for him to play. He's listed as doubtful at the moment, so it doesn't feel like he's going to play. That's going to be a big loss. This one, man, literally anyone can win. Nothing about this game would surprise me. I think it's supposed to snow in Buffalo on Sunday, so I don't think this is going to be as high scoring as I originally thought it was going to be. To me, the keys in this game aren't even the quarterbacks. I think Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson cancel each other out. I think this is going to be on what running backs have better games. It's going to be Derrick Henry, or is it going to be James Cook? Derrick Henry absolutely destroyed the Bills in the first time they met earlier this season when they got blown out at M&T Bank Stadium. But I just believe, I've said it all year, and this is no anything bad on the Ravens. I think Lamar is going to play well. It would stun me, actually, if they lose because of Lamar Jackson. I just feel like he's going to have a great game. But I think this is just the Bills' time to make it to the Super Bowl. I think that this is their best chance. I just love the way they've been playing. They're at home, too. So I feel a lot better than being at the crib. I think that this is going to be a close game. I'm going to say 24-21. 24-21. Bills. I think that they'll have just a little bit more in the tank. But if Derrick Henry has a monster game, then I don't see how. If Derrick Henry goes off, I don't think the Bills have a shot in hell. So I think they need to slow Derrick Henry down. Go ahead,
This
Courtney.
is anti-black.
As I just said, I think he'll be great.
No, I can't. I won't stand for it. I won't stand for it. I said it earlier in the week that like there's narrative wise, there's obviously so much more at stake for Lamar here. He's had to work so hard to get to this point, of his career where people aren't doubting him so much. And I feel like again, if he loses this game, it's just gonna set him back. Even though what is actually, I should have looked this up earlier, and that's on me. Playoff records for Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson.
That's actually a stat I should have looked up too.
Yeah,
I'll bring it up real quick.
Please, thank you. But no, and regardless of, honestly, I feel like it's not that far apart, which is why this is important. There's so much more at stake for Lamar here, and that's shitty because Josh Allen is not going to be. I said it earlier. He didn't have that much to work with to begin with. No excuses. Okay, first off, this is the matchup. I hate the way the brackets are because this is the matchup that we deserve in a championship game. Okay, and the fact that it seems to always come down into the divisional rounds makes me sick to my stomach.
Well, blame the king of the NFL, Patrick Mahomes, for that.
Yeah, I do.
Mike,
But
so Lamar Jackson is 3-4 in the playoffs. Josh Allen is 6-5.
Okay, it's very close. Very close.
Yeah.
So you got Ravens, Courtney. Who you got?
Yeah, I'm taking the Ravens. Sorry, I just feel not sorry, but like I'm not sorry. I feel like Lamar's got so much more to work with, and that's not it. I feel like Josh Allen has to do more in order for his team to win, and I feel like the Ravens defense can get to Josh Allen.
All right.
I feel like
I'm fully on board. I'm fully on board with the Baltimore Ravens being this year's Super Bowl champs. That's who I want to see win it all. So I'm 100% on board with Lamar. But I think it's just going to come down to which quarterback tweaks the least, because they are both known to have moments where they just completely tweak, whether it's a terrible interception or a fumble and the most inopportune time. So it's going to be a very close game. This is obviously the game of the week. I wish this shit was tomorrow. But I'm riding with the Ravens because I want to see the Ravens win the Super Bowl this year.
Definitely, man. That's all we got for this. We're about to bring Kyron Samuels in just 1 second. Mikey, man, we're going to get you up out of here. You can follow Mikey at @Junior_Solito. He'll be back with us next Friday. Man, Mikey, anything you want to say before we get you up out of here?
Nah, I'm going to holler at y'all, but I will be posting a little ticket on the on my Twitter, a little gambling ticket, a little mix of some college basketball and some NFL playoffs for the weekend. I'm going up to Wisconsin after this, so I will be up there in bumfuck Wisconsin gambling.
Oh yeah, and enjoy cheese country.
This shit about to be -7.
All right, bro, we gonna holler at you. All right. Now we're going to bring in our college football correspondent, man. He is part of SI, man. We always have him on. Ain't had Kai on in a minute. The one and only Kyron Samuels. Kai, how you feeling, brother?
I'm doing good, man. Happy to be back and chop it up a little bit with y'all.
Definitely, man. My fault for the delay. We were running on CP time over here. But let's just get right into it, man. Now, before we get into the actual national championship game, I think we'll be remiss if we didn't talk about Mr. Primetime, Deion Sanders. A lot of rumors going around. He just finished his second season with the University of Colorado. They had a bowl game, got thrashed in the Alamo Bowl. Shedeur did not have a good game, but they made it their big deal for the program. Now we're hearing rumors that he might be heading to Dallas to coach the Dallas Cowboys. Now, in your opinion, do you think this is something that you can actually see happening, or do you think it's just Jerry being Jerry, trying to get more people to talk about his team?
I think it's something that there's a pathway for it to happen, but the pathway is so slim that I don't think this is something that we should take too seriously. I think the only way that he would accept a job like that is if he were inclined to believe that they were going to find a way to get Shedeur to come there and be with him. And I don't see a situation where they could offload Dak's contract, especially they just re-upped him. They just found a way, to get him his money. He's coming off of an injury, a season-ending injury. I don't see a situation where Dak isn't the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys next season. And that's why I don't think we should take this overly seriously. But I don't think Jerry's bluffing. This has been a rumor for years that if there was a situation where McCarthy would leave, that Deion, now being in the coaching fold, would be a target for Jerry Jones. I think Jerry is legitimately interested. I just don't think Prime is going to leave the situation he's in without knowing he's going to get his son with him.
Courtney, you down there in Dallas? What's been the talk like out there? What has been like? Media. Anybody you might talk to, what their vibe is on this whole Deion thing.
Yeah, they just kind of think it's ridiculous. It's Jerry being Jerry. But no, like you said, this is not the first time that they've heard anything about Deion Sanders and Jerry Jones. They've got a good relationship with each other. I just think it's silly. I'm sorry. I just think it's silly. But also after seeing what they said about reading what I said, I don't know how true that is about Deion Sanders and the Colorado AD not wanting to give them more NIL. Man, get my man out of there. Free my man. We got to put him in a better position to succeed. We got to get him out of that program immediately.
I think that the thing that stands out to me is I do believe Jerry wants him to be there. I just don't know if Deion actually does it. I think the reason he's intrigued about it, obviously team he played for, it's a team he won a championship with. He has a great respect for Jerry Jones. He has a great relationship with Jerry Jones. I mean, even last year, I forgot what game it was, but Jerry, Shedeur, and Deion Jr. all came to one of the games. And they got the red carpet treatment out there. So I do think it would make sense. The reason why I would be hard pressed to actually see it happen, because Jerry be kind of cheap when it comes to paying people. And when he does pay people, it's because he has no choice. His buyout alone is $10 million. That's just off the buyout. That's not including what he'd have to pay him in an actual contract. Because if you're Deion, if you're going to leave the safe, or anything, college football is more stable than the NFL. If he's going to do that, he will want a big contract. So I don't think he would pay him that money, but it makes sense. Dak's not going to go anywhere. He's got no trade clause. He just got traded. They have no chance of getting Shedeur. But Deion's brand mixed with the Cowboys brand, I think that makes sense. But overall, I think this is just Jerry being Jerry, and I think that Prime is probably interested with it, but I wouldn't say I'd be shocked to go through with it, because I wouldn't have seen him going to Colorado of all teams either over what he had going on at Jackson State. But it's definitely something to monitor. And the Cowboys, we gonna always talk about them, man. But Kyle, let's talk about the 12-team playoff. There's been a lot of mixed reactions about this format since the day it got announced. This year was the first year to do it. We have gotten through all the rounds as we are on the weekend before the national championship. What was your personal opinion on how you thought the first 12-team playoff went?
I wasn't a fan of it. I'm a reductionist by heart. I mean, I was a BCS kid growing up. That was my heyday. So I really appreciated the BCS, and I appreciated the grind of college football. I think that's what separated college football and made it so special every week, is because you couldn't lose a game. You had to be damn near perfect or perfect to get an opportunity to play for a championship. And it is unique to college football. There's not very many sports to have that type of format. But to me, that's what made it special, because every game was important. Every road game was important. You couldn't lose, like, let's say, Notre Dame this year, who was playing for a championship game. They couldn't have lost an NIU in week 2 and made it to a championship game in that era. Even probably in the 4-team era, they'll be on the outside looking in. Same with Ohio State. I think that they wouldn't have made the playoffs if it was a 4-team playoff. If they lost to a Michigan team who was 6-5 going into that game, and probably rightfully so. I think the grind of college football and then the strength of schedule that we've some kind of way devalued over the course of time is what made it special. So I wasn't a huge fan of it. I think we did get some really cool games out of it. The first couple rounds were pretty bad, but the Texas-Arizona State game was phenomenal. And I enjoyed the Georgia-Notre Dame game. I enjoyed the Texas-Ohio State game for the most part, even though it was a little subdued, in my opinion. There were some highs, but for the most part, it was pretty chill. But I think those are two really good football games. I think the Penn State-Notre Dame game was a terrible football game, but it was entertaining at the end. I think that was one of the worst football games I've ever seen in my life, with all the mistakes and stupid penalties and turnovers and whatnot. But it was an entertaining game at the end. So overall, I think the more football we get, people are going to love it because we're all obsessed with football. We're going to watch. But to me, I value the BCS and then the 4-team at least more than I do this 12-team playoff. I think we're wasting a little bit of time here.
Was there are you surprised that the national championship matchup is Ohio State Notre Dame?
Not really. I mean, when you have a team like Ohio State who is extremely talented, yeah, they might have played bad during the season. They had some really bad pitfalls, but they're talented. They can flip the switch. I think that's what makes the NFL playoff special to a degree, is because you can see a team like the 10-6, New York Giants go on a run and beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, or you can see the Ravens, when they were 10-6 that one year, go from a wild card, beat Peyton Manning's team, go win a Super Bowl. You can see stuff like that. So I think that's why some people will value it. I just think, to me, that's what made college football better, because the NFL, at least, what they had to go through to get that 10-6 record. The competition is more balanced. The parity is actually there. There's no league that you can turn over faster year to year than in the NFL. We just saw this past season with the Washington Commanders. We can go back a couple years with the Detroit Lions and what they were able to do, going from where they were to a 9-8 team in 2022, and then the last two seasons where they're at. So I think that's the separation for me. Why I don't value it as much is because a team like Notre Dame can go 13-1 with 12-1 with a loss to a team like NIU, not relatively put anybody that's tough. They had ranked ranked Navy, ranked Army. Those weren't really tough games if we're talking about comparatively speaking here. They had a very easy road to get to the playoffs. They handled their business, and I think that's important as well. But I don't think the balance there is enough for me to be able to look over the format.
Definitely. Let's get into the national championship game. So it will be it's in Atlanta, if I'm not mistaken, right? It's in Atlanta. Yeah. Okay, I got make sure I got it right.
Did you
Atlanta.
see those ticket prices?
No, I haven't been in Atlanta in a couple years. I miss Atlanta, by the way.
I've never seen anything like that. And I've been to a couple natties. Thank God, but goodness gracious.
I miss Atlanta, Georgia.
Cheapest seats are like $2,400.
Good Lord. Oh my God, that's crazy.
Get in. That's crazy.
Them Kendrick Lamar tour prices, bro. Like, what we doing?
Yeah, that's
but Ohio State, Notre Dame. My brother's very hyped about this game because he's an Ohio State stan, and this nigga's had a good time. And you talk about everything they got to go over there. But I want to start with Notre Dame because they've had an incredible season getting to where they've got. Marcus Freeman has been great. So I kind of want to start with what you feel about these rumors about him potentially interviewing for the Chicago Bears job. The thing came out like I think the first news about it came out like early December. I thought it was they're just trying to get an extension. Then he agreed to an extension. Now we don't know if he actually signed the thing yet because, as we just found out, Bill Belichick ain't signed this contract yet. But we heard this morning on ESPN Radio Chicago. Shout out to Courtney Cronin. She says that it's more than just interest, and it would not surprise her if he's being interviewed at Hallis Hall sometime this week. So we got to wait and see that. I haven't seen Marcus Freeman's media day, so I don't know if he was asked about it. But, Kyle, what's your opinion on not just everything he's accomplished this year, but do you think he'd be ready for the jump from the college football to NFL this early in his career?
Well, yeah, first of all, I want to give him his flowers, man. I think that what he did this season was incredible. And I think it's kind of like funny that Brian Kelly always talked about leaving Notre Dame because they didn't have the resources or the investment to make it to a national championship game. And then within 3 years of taking a job, Marcus Freeman has these guys playing in a national championship game after beating Georgia, after beating Penn State. So I want to give him credit for that, first and foremost. I think he's done a fantastic job adapting with the recent changes in college football. He's done very well in the portal. If you look at the quarterbacks he's added over the last couple of years, like Sam Hartman last season, Riley Leonard this season, he went out and got a Jordan Clark to play safety for him, who's contributed for them well. And he's kept the talent there that has developed into the players they are, like Xavier Watts, Riley Mills, that's injured now, but Howard Cross, Jeremiah Love, those type of players he's been able to get and keep there. So I think he's done a fantastic job adapting to college football. Two, I think he would be a very cool candidate for an NFL job because I think he is the culture builder that the NFL requires. Everybody loves to, compare the next young black kid to Mike Tomlin, but I think he's the closest thing we'll see to a Mike Tomlin type figure. Young guy, NFL experience, has some chops already as a head coach, so he wouldn't be going in, head first even though it's different building in the NFL. But he's been in there before. He's coached with the NFL before. He's played in the NFL before. He understands what culture is and how to build that. So I think as long as there's a decent infrastructure, which there is at a place like Chicago, you have your quarterback, you have some nice skill guys, and you have defensive pieces there in Chicago. I think that would be a very attractive hire for a place like Chicago, even though it may not be on the national radar. I know everybody's in love with Ben Johnson, but I think Marcus Freeman is a damn good candidate for an NFL job. And this would be the time to do it when he's at the peak of his power at college football.
Yeah, I definitely. It was something that I had to think about at first. First, I was like, I don't want no college coach. Then I thought about it more. I'm like, if people want bold, I think that this would be something that would actually work if that happened. So, but let's talk about the game. I feel like from my perspective, this is, I don't want to say it's Ohio State's game to lose. I don't want to disrespect Notre Dame like that, but I do believe Ohio State is a favorite, just the way they've been putting up points in this entire postseason. Their quarterback's been going crazy. And just Ryan Day has been kind of, you ask, depending on what Ohio State fan you ask, a lot of them have a lot of mixed opinions on Ryan Day. If you say, my brother wanted to have him murdered a couple weeks ago. Now he's just like, he's a good man, Savannah, which had me down laughing. But there's a lot of fans have been really on the fence about Ryan Day. And this is, if he wins this to me makes him lifetime in Ohio State. How do you see this game? Who are you picking? And how you think this is going to go?
This is an interesting one for me because everything in my football brain is telling me to go Ohio State, right? It's just, if we're looking at the eye test, if we're looking at what we've seen on the field. But, man, I don't know. I have a weird feeling about Notre Dame. We didn't think there would be Georgia. I know that the line ended up moving. It was pretty equal, or maybe Notre Dame was slightly ahead after the Beck news. But most people felt that Georgia would win that football game. Most people felt that Penn State was going to win that game last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever that was. I think a lot of people are just realizing this is a team of destiny, right? Like, you talk about Ohio State, that's a team that was configured with a lot of NIL money, a lot of prowess. When we talk about 5 stars, 4 stars, what have you, they went out and got Chip Kelly. They went out and got Jim Knowles. That is a team that's supposed to be where they are if they play to their ability. I don't think anybody's surprised that Ohio State finally put it together and they're playing really good football with the more opportunities that they're presented. Notre Dame wasn't supposed to be here. And I'll throw another interesting stat out here. The Kelly Ford ratings, they've been doing this thing for 20, 30 years, has predicted the college football playoff model perfect so far. They're 10 out of 10 with their predictions based off of their model. And they have Notre Dame winning the game. So when I had that inclination, I don't know why. I'm not saying that Notre Dame will win, but I saw that stat and it kind of like confirmed what I was already feeling like, hey, this might be a little bit closer than people expect. I thought that was really cool. So based off of that model, they have predicted it perfect so far, and they have Notre Dame winning. And there is no explanation to me. I think they just played very solid special teams. They've dominated special teams battle in every game they played so far. Even when they have the turnovers, they respond very well. They don't let those turnovers come back and kill them. And they've done a fantastic job of making opportune turnovers themselves and forcing the ball to be turned over by the other team. So I think they have a chance in this ball game. I would not be surprised if they do win this football game. And in the same way, it could be said, I would be surprised if Ohio State win like 42-10. Either one can happen, but that's why they play the game. I think that's why people are going to be excited about this one. And just throw a little personal bias out there. Riley Leonard is from my hometown. He's a kid from Fairhope, Alabama, just like me. So he played with my little brother and those guys. So I'm rooting for the hometown kid outside of the analysis. I hope that Notre Dame gets it done. For one, for Marcus Freeman, I'm always going to root for the black coach, just being straight up. And then 2, the hometown kid, Riley Leonard, I would love to see him go out with a ring and bring one to the crib. So outside of the analysis, I'm rooting for those guys.
Courtney, what's your vibe on this game? We know how you feel about both these teams, but how you see this one going? Was there be any outcome that would shock you in this game?
Yeah. I think I'm kind of with Kai. The more that I've sat down and thought about it, I think this game has the potential to be a lot closer than people think. I'm thinking back on some of the games that Notre Dame played this season, and some of the big differences have been on the defensive side of the ball. They lost a big defensive corner. Gosh, I'm losing his name. Starts with an M. Morrison. Maybe you can help me out, Kai. Morrison. Christian Gray has really come in and been fantastic. He had that pick 6 against USC. I believe he had another interception in that Penn State game. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think if he can shut down Jeremiah Smith, this game could be a lot more interesting than maybe a lot more people think. I just hope that they can make some stops and they don't get blown out like Kai said, 42-10. I think if Notre Dame can hold them to 2-3 touchdowns, if they can hold them to under 21, I think Notre Dame can win this game.
It's definitely going to be interesting to see this one. I just want to see. I want it to be close. I just want to see my brother at least panic while this is going on. He been talking too crazy, so I would like for it at least to be somewhat competitive. Kai, last thing for you doesn't have anything to do with college football, but we know we talked about Caleb Williams while you've been on here. You had a good article on his season, in review. Tell us, what you thought of it, because I kind of feel like it's been like a lot of mixed reactions. I said it was a disappointment from the fact that I expected more, but also at the same time, it was a really good rookie season, the best rookie season we've seen in Chicago Bears history. And with all the turmoil he had to go, he had 3 offensive coordinators, he had 2 head coaches, it was just so much stuff to go through. And he played every game that I think in that, if you look at it with those blinders, it was a really good season. From the outside, we have our Bears bubble. What did you think about the way Caleb played this season?
I'll start off by saying this. I think Caleb had a very good rookie season. I'm bordering on like damn near a great rookie season if we're comparing it to every other rookie that's existed. You look at some of the records he was able to break. He rewrote the Bears record books for rookie quarterbacks completely, and he's broke a lot of Bears franchise records. I feel like every week that I was writing my review on him, he was breaking some type of record.
Yeah.
But I'll say that to say the only reason it's viewed through this lens is the hype that he got coming out, the hype that he got at USC. I think that is a media problem, and I think that's a fan problem as well for eating up everything that the media says. Like, even though I'm a part of the media now, like you look at it, people, Sean Payton, I believe, said he was going to be the best NFL draft prospect since Andrew Luck. Or, you had one guy, I can't remember his name right now, say he was going to be one of the most talented quarterbacks to come out since John Elway in the 80s. When you have that type of hype, when you have that type of, microscope on you, and then you back it up when you're in college. He goes out and wins the Heisman Trophy in fantastic fashion. Even the next season when they come back and they go 7-5, Caleb Williams was phenomenal that year. He had a fantastic season again in 2023. He lived up to that hype in college. But there's always a different animal when you're going to the NFL, man. Like, I think people should really keep that in mind with every young quarterback prospect. The same thing with guy like, you look at what CJ Stroud had to endure this season. Offensive line problems. The receivers weren't, healthy all the season. You lose 2 star receivers. They were bad for a lot of the season, and that defense carried them. And even in this past game they played last week, the defense carried them. So, but you look at it where they're at. It's a process, right? You build a team around a quarterback. The Texans, at worst, know they have their quarterback, even though he was going through struggles. I think the Bears fans, if you're looking to the future, you should be happy because at the very least you have a guy that you can build around, and you haven't been able to say that in a very long time in Chicago. So I think when you have the 3 offense coordinators, like you said, 21 different offensive line combinations, which was the most in the NFL this season. I have my reservations about DJ Moore and his effort. I think he doesn't play with full effort all the time. He's still developing rapport with Roma Dunze and those guys. I think when you look at everything in totality and the lack of run game, I remember like 4 of the last 5 games that we covered for the Bears, Caleb Williams was the leading rusher, despite all the sacks he was taking. That can't happen. So there's so much to take away positively. I think it would be silly to focus on all the negative when you have so much good in front of you. Don't ignore it. There is stuff to get better at. But I think Caleb did a damn good job for what he was presented with this season. And I think he's going to grow a lot with some stability.
I 100% agree with that. I just say from covering the team this year, being around Caleb, one thing I got to give Caleb love for as somebody who I'm at Hallis Hall once a week, sometimes twice a week. He's always upbeat. I've never seen him. And this is not, I'm not trying to shit on Justin when I say this, but sometimes I feel like Justin didn't want to be there and being around a facility. Caleb's always upbeat. I remember when he first got there for minicamp, he always said, "Go Bears," at that press conference. I was like, but October, he's not going to be saying that. He kept saying it. Like, so same beat. Don't lie. One guy, I think it was after the Patriots game.
Positivity works sometimes.
Exactly. The Patriots game, he got sacked like 8 times. The next day I'm at Hallis Hall, I see him in the hallway. He's chipper guy. That's just how he is. And to deal with all the shit that he's been dealing with, Chicago media, not easy. I know we ain't easy. I got to give him credit for that, man. I'm first time in my life as a Bears fan. I feel like I got a quarterback. And I'm a Jay Cutler guy, but I never felt like that. When Jay throw the ball, I panic. I'm sorry. I just do. Well, because you never know where it's going to go. With Caleb, especially towards the end of the game, and one thing I had to argue with Bears fans about that final Packer win. I understand it dropped us a draft spot, but now your quarterback knows that I can go on the Lambeau Field and beat them. I should have beat them at home if it wasn't for a blocked field goal. That to me is more important than a draft pick. So
I'm glad you brought that up, bro, because he has been fantastic at the end of ball games. I know people talk about some of the holes they went into, but to me, I love watching those young quarterbacks in those situations because not every quarterback has that in them where they can bring you back from 2 or 3 touchdowns. And I'm talking about vets, older guys. But I love to see the young guys in it because, you get to see who they are, what they're made of. Nobody's surprised. I love them to death. But when Sam Darnold fell apart the last 2 games of the season, nobody was surprised.
Nope.
When you look at some of these playoff teams, we love Dak. He's a great quarterback. When Dak falls apart in the playoffs, nobody's surprised. So that's why I like watching the young guys. But Caleb, time and time again, that first Lions game, terrible decision from the coach. I think the coach has to call a timeout there. Help the rookie quarterback out. The first Packers game, like you said, the Vikings game, both Vikings games, we get Caleb leads them down. Darnold ends up having 90-something yard winning drive. We never see that. Then the last Packers game as well. So time and time again, the Washington game, even though he played like shit, the last 2 drives of that game, he led 2 game-winning drives basically, and the defense fell apart. So I thought that was another important thing we saw from Caleb this year. When the money is on the line, he performs pretty damn well despite the circumstance.
Definitely agree with that. Kyle, anything you want to promote? We got get you about it. Anything you writing? Anything you got coming up?
Nah, not really, man. I'll be heading down to the Senior Bowl in a couple of weeks to do that, and just my SI profile. I'll have everything up there covering the Bears search and what I think. Schematically, they just finished interviewing Todd Monken, so probably tomorrow morning I'll write about that and how that will look with Caleb Williams. If he were to take that job, I think that's a fascinating interview right there because if he were to take that job, he's done nothing but elevate quarterbacks everywhere he's been his entire career. So I thought that was interesting. My Pull and Guard Substack, where I'll be doing more draft-specific stuff. All that stuff is on my Twitter. You can just follow me on Twitter at Kyron Samuels there. But outside of that, nothing, man. I appreciate you having me on again. Appreciate all the work that you've been doing, and I love doing this with y'all. So anytime, holler at me.
Definitely, bro. Always love to have you on here, man. Gonna have you on here again, man. Enjoy your weekend, bro.
Yes, sir. Y'all too.
Cheers.
Yes, sir. We're gonna wrap up this edition of I'm Not Gonna Hold You Here. Hey, under 2 hours. We ain't did this in a minute. Under 2 hours. I can go to bed at a reasonable time tonight when I'm done editing.
That's my teammate.
Yeah, we gonna wrap this up. But Courtney, anything you want to say before we get up out of here? What you got planned for the weekend?
I have a glorious sports-filled weekend. Back-to-back hockey games this weekend. Your Dallas Stars are playing tomorrow. They're also playing on Sunday. Unfortunately for me, the Stars game tomorrow is at the same time as the Chiefs game. So less than ideal. But you know what? We're just gonna have to. I've got to bring my charger with me to the bar so I can watch from the bar.
Yeah, you got to be like. Did you see Dak Shepard, the actor? He was watching the Lions game when he was at the Golden Globes a couple weeks ago.
I mean, that's what he sounds like. Sounds like me for real.
Yeah. So shout out my boy Damien. I went one time. This was a couple years ago. This when North Carolina was in like the Final Four, and we was at a Clipper game. This motherfucker had his phone set up watching the North Carolina game while we at the Clipper game, man. So I definitely feel that. I was
like 17 in line at Disneyland during the Oregon-Auburn National Championship game. I'm in line for fucking Indiana Jones watching that shit on my phone. Internet slow as hell, but yeah,
slow.
Yeah, we've been here. We've been out here.
I will be doing watching playoff football this weekend. I'm currently catching up. I'm rewatching House of Cards. I know Kevin Spacey is a sicko, but goddamn, that was a good television show.
That was good. When that show first started, that was elite television.
That was elite television. So I'll be doing that, watching a lot of sports. So, but we're gonna get up out of here, man. You can follow Courtney at 1-800-CALLER-BRO on all social media platforms. You can follow me at Chair Scott on all social media platforms. Follow the Barbers Chair Network at Barbers Chair Net. Follow our partners, H&B Media, H&B Media TV on Twitter, and H&B Media on Instagram. And, of course, subscribe to the Patreon, man. That's patreon.com/Barbers Chair Network. If you were listening to this in podcast form, the link is right there in the description box, man. We got new Summer Sessions episode up right now. Me, Pavi, and Bang, we break down exactly what the fuck is Drake doing. So listen to that new episode. $10 holla, you get 25% off your first order at the Barber's Chair shop. That is the bcnetshop.com, man. So y'all have a good weekend, and we gonna holler at y'all. We up out of here.